Hi, everyone. The big takeaways from this final chapter on law and ethics in abnormal psychology are these. The first big takeaway: the intersection of psychology and the law is a new subfield of psychology called forensic psychology. It's really interesting. This is actually a specialty of clinical psychologists who sought some of their graduate training to work in legal environments or in correctional facilities with those client populations. In the back of your chapter highlights, or your lecture notes, it has a really detailed description of this fairly new field, about 10, 15 years old, and this new type of work involved, forensic psychology. Interesting stuff. The second big takeaway from this chapter is regarding the insanity defense. It is likely that you heard of the insanity defense before you took this course, as most people have. Please do not mistake its popularity for its frequency. You've heard of the insanity defense, but it's not very frequent. The insanity defense is actually extremely rare in court trials and mostly unsuccessful when it's tried as a defense. Its popularity in modern culture, the reason people have heard of it, is more a reason of so many people's outrage when the insanity defense occasionally works. And then so a confessed criminal is not punished, but rather is treated delicately like a patient with a mental illness. The resulting outrage from the average citizen is what made the insanity defense popular, and that's why you may have heard of it before you took this class. It is not frequent, it is extremely rare. Lastly, let's talk about predicting dangerousness. This is an issue that always comes up in this chapter, and I think it's an interesting one. This is third takeaway, big takeaway in this chapter. Regarding mental health, the field of mental health, our explanation for the crazed gunman who takes a gun and kills a bunch of innocent people. Psychology has always been challenged in these moments of national tragedy, like the shooting at the elementary school or at the church, or numerous other similar events. Clinical psychologists are asked, didn't you know this could happen? Because the shooter had a history of mental disorders or erratic behavior. And here's how we have to answer. Yes, we knew that it could happen. Under certain conditions, under certain stressors, maybe we knew this could happen. But let's unpack this answer. And it's always the same answer, but let's unpack this. First, let's recall the 3 Ds. Psychologists can only diagnose and act when the 3 Ds are present. The reason why it is so difficult for mental health experts to predict who can be dangerous is that crossing the line from normal to abnormal involves deviance in mood or behavior that also causes discomfort, or in the case of a gunman, causes dysfunction, because the gunman, the person cannot conform their actions to community and societal norms. According to the definition of dysfunction, they took a gun and they killed people. So recall those 3 Ds must be present for psychologists to diagnose and then act. Without that present, without the dysfunction of the act, no, we cannot lock up someone who has a history of mental health disorders. And that's the answer that the mental health community has to give when asked this question, didn't you know this could happen? So someone with bizarre or paranoid ideas may be quite strange in their behavior, but they're untouchable until their dysfunctional actions are imminent, like a shooting. And oftentimes we don't know until after the shooting has already occurred. For this reason, mass shootings may continue to occur. It's a very unsatisfying reply from the mental health caregiver community. But I wanted you to understand the answer. Yes, we knew this could happen when we see these mass shootings. So in summary, here's the big takeaways from this really interesting final chapter on law and ethics. First of all, the intersection of psychology and the law is a new subfield of psychology called forensic psychology. Read about it in your chapter highlights, in your lecture notes. Regarding the insanity defense, please do not mistake the fact that you've heard of it, the fact that it's popular, so to speak, for its frequency. The insanity defense is actually extremely rare. It rarely is used and it rarely works. And lastly, regarding clinical psychologists' explanation for the crazed gunman who kills innocent people, recall the 3 Ds must be present for psychologists to diagnose and then act. The reason why it's so difficult for mental health experts to predict who could be dangerous is that crossing the line from normal to abnormal involves deviance, but also discomfort or distress. or dysfunction, I'm sorry, discomfort or dysfunction. In the gunman case, causes actual dysfunction, like they start shooting, because the person cannot conform their actions to community and societal norms. And psychologists only diagnose and then act when the 3Ds are present. Those are the big takeaways from this chapter on law and ethics in abnormal psychology. Thank you.